don't do no more of them, Miss Harris, them tricky ones with the halves in them.
But you might have one with a half. You got to know how to deal with it.
I know.
If we said he spent a third what she spent, you would put it divided by 3. Just put x over 3. Now you're right. Probably they aren't going to give you any like that on a test, but it should not matter. Whatever they say, you should be able to change it into numbers and symbols. And do it. Going back to number 6, Paul, Jeff, and Jerry. We have Paul, and don't look at what and we're going to change the things so you can't have the answer. Paul, Jeff, and Jerry all together worked 70 hours. It said that Jeff worked twice as many as Jerry. So who's X?
Jerry.
And who worked twice as much?
Jeff.
And so Jeff is what? And Paul worked what? 6 hours more?
6X.
Nope. 6 hours more than, you got the book there.
More than Jeff.
6 hours more than Jeff.
2x
So-
plus 6.
2x plus 6. He worked what Jeff worked plus 6 more hours. You see exactly what it says. That's how you write it up. How many hours did Jeff work?
2x.
Tell me how many hours Jeff worked. Let me make it a little easier for you. Let's say Paul worked 5 hours more. Let's say he worked 5 hours more instead of 6. Make it a little easier for you. Paul worked 5 hours more than Jeff. I just changed to 5 to make it easier for you, because you're going to come up with the decimal otherwise.
Who was he trying to find out?
Jeff. Chris, did you get that we changed Paul to 5 hours? Okay. How many x's do you have?
5.
5x plus what?
5.
Equals what?
70.
What plus 5 equals 70?
65.
65. What times 5 is 65?
13.
13. 13 is how many who worked? Jerry. How many did Jeff work then?
26.
26. Paul plus Jeff plus Jerry equals 70 hours, right? Everybody got that so far? Okay. We're going to do what we can do. We can add the x's together. We got 2x plus 2x is
4.
plus another one? 5 x's. Still we have that plus 5 here equals 70. So I know that something plus 5 is 70.
65.
65 plus 5 is 70. So I know that 5 times some number has got to give me that 65. And to find out what that is, I divide it. 13. 13 is what x has to be. Now the way you said that you have learned it, you can still do. Take 5 from each side. What you have left is 5x equals 65. Divide each side by 5, and you get your 13. That's for some people is easier.
That's what she just said. That's
Yeah, for some people it's easier. It's only easier because that's what they're used to doing.
Right.
Not that one way is easier or harder. They're both the same. You're doing the same thing, but
That one got an extra step.
this one you're just doing a little bit extra. You're doing the same thing, but you're just showing it here, where here you're just kind of doing it in your head. Here, when I got here and said something times, I know this had to be 65, which is what I got here by subtracting it. See, I knew it already because I know what plus 5 gives me 70, you see what I mean? Then I knew that this is 5 x's. I don't want to know what 5 x's are, I need to know what 1x is. So I needed to divide it by 5 to find out what that 1x is, which is what we did over here to get the 13. It's just faster here, but whatever makes more sense to you. So 13 is what x is. But the question is not how many Jerry, it was how many did Jeff. So Jeff is not x, Jeff is 2 of those x's. So if x is 13, 2 of them is 26. And if he worked 5 more, he worked 31. The 26 plus 5 more, you see? So now the 31 plus the 26 plus the 13 will give me that 70. Mm-hmm. So where do you mess up at?
I got the first 2 things, but I don't know what to do after, like you said.
Because you're looking at numbers, you're not making it into word problems and not saying it. You need to say to yourself when you get here, 5 times some number. That's why you weren't here last week though, but we went through just reading those expressions. So you understand what the expression says. This says 5 times some number. That's what 5x
That's
says.
why I ain't getting it. I missed out on that.
This says 5 times some number plus 5 more equals 70.
Gotcha.
That's what that says. 5 times some number. That's what 5x means. 5 times some number.
Okay.
I got to figure out what is that number. You see. But this says that if I multiply 5 times some number and add 5 to that, I am going to get 70. That's what that sentence has to say to you in words.
Gotcha.
So then you can figure out, if you have multiple choice, you can take each one of them that's there and see which one of them is that the number. Because if I can multiply 5 times it and add 5 to it and get 70, then that's the right number. Only one number is going to work. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what we try to do is to get it down to that sentence. So then it'll make sense to us. When all this, you got all of these all added together, then you got to get them all together to get it down to what they call simplified. Get it to the simple sentence that tells us that 5 times some number plus 5 more will give us 70. Then you can figure out what that unknown is.
I got you now.
Okay? And we will review these things too, again, the beginning of the next session. But I do want to go on to some geometry so that those who just need that little bit of refreshing before they can test, they can have that, because there's a couple of things on there that you'll need to know. Geometry talks about shapes and angles and things like that. The things that are most important in geometry for you is to know what angles are. You know, it talks about points, it talks about lines, it talks about line segments, just a part of a line. This we know is a line because it has arrows to each side, which means that it goes on infinitely. A line doesn't stop, it keeps going. This is a line segment. It starts here and goes on forever. Or it could start here and go on. Or here and go up or down or whatever. Line segments. Geometry talks about lines opening up, starting at a point and opening from there to there and coming on around to there and coming on around and making a complete circle. And we measure the space there in degrees. How many degrees of opening there are. So when they say it's a 90-degree angle, that's how much it's opened up, okay? When it opens from there to straight up, that is a 90-degree angle. It is called a right angle. If it's less than 90 degrees, it's called an acute angle. If it's greater than 90 degrees, it's called an obtuse angle. If it's exactly 180 degrees, it's called a straight angle. Or a straight line is a straight angle. And if it starts coming back around this way, it's come around and back there, it's a reflex angle. Okay? A right angle is the only one that you can know